Today marks the first full day of witness testimony in Karen Reed's retrial. Testimony began with a friend of John O'Keefe's who helped Reed look for O'Keefe the night he died. WBZ's Kristina Rex joins us now, and she has been following this case from the very beginning, the first trial and now the retrial. And she joins us now outside of Norfolk Superior Court in Dedham to break down today's testimony. Kristina, thank you for being with us.
Happy to be here, Courtney. So it was Kerry Roberts, that's the name of John O'Keefe's friend, who's been on the stand. She got on the stand yesterday afternoon and was on the stand all morning, just wrapping up a few minutes ago. And actually, we now know that John O'Keefe's mother is going to be the next person called to the stand.
Now, Kristina, what was interesting so far is that in today's testimony, you mentioned Kerry Roberts. The defense tried to show Roberts was always with another witness in this case, Jen McCabe, when she spoke to law enforcement about the case.
Yes, if anybody has followed this case, you know the name Jen McCabe. She was the third woman. So it was Kerry Roberts, Karen Reed, and Jen McCabe who were together that morning who discovered John O'Keefe's body. Jen McCabe was also out with the whole crew the night before and at the home that night. And she's one of those witnesses that the defense has really pointed to as, in their description, suspicious. She's the person who the defense alleges made a 2:27 in the morning Google search about how long to die in the cold. The prosecution, on the other hand, says that that Google search actually happened after 6 o'clock in the morning. There's a bunch of expert testimony to go over that'll happen later in this trial. But Jen McCabe is one of the people that the defense has really tried to point to as an alleged puppet master of a cover-up. And so it was interesting because on cross, as you mentioned, of Kerry Roberts, Alan Jackson didn't seem like he was necessarily trying to impeach Kerry Roberts, but rather trying to get any information he could about how and why Jen McCabe was either speaking with Kerry Roberts ahead of any interview she did or physically with her at the time.
Kristina, thank you for keeping up with all of these details for us. Another detail I want to be sure to ask you about. There was also some police dashboard camera video played by the prosecution, video in which you can actually hear Reed yelling.
Yes, this video was played in bits and pieces during the last trial as well. You can really hear Karen Reed frantic at that scene that morning when they discovered John O'Keefe's body. It's dash cam from first responders who had arrived on scene. She, Karen Reed, is screaming, Kerry, Jen, those women who she was with. Part of the reason the prosecution played this video is interesting and has to do with what we're expecting to be new evidence in this second trial, which is that they show Kerry Roberts as she's on the stand. They have her describe what she is doing in that dash camera video. She describes giving CPR, chest compressions to her friend John O'Keefe, trying to save his life. And then she describes the moment that you see on camera where she goes over after John O'Keefe's body has been taken away and put in the ambulance. She goes over to the area where his body was, picks up his cell phone, puts it in her pocket, at some point goes into her car, comes back out of her car and gives his cell phone to law enforcement. And that might not seem significant now, but based on what happened in opening statements, we know that the prosecution plans to introduce data about the temperature of John O'Keefe's cell phone battery that they say will prove the amount of time that he was lying there on the front lawn, the moment Kerry Roberts picked up his cell phone, brought it into her warm car, and later gave it to police.
Kristina, all very interesting things that we are definitely going to want to hear more about. But also, up next this afternoon, you mentioned this at the very beginning, we have John O'Keefe's mother. What do we expect to hear from her?
You know, so her name's Peggy O'Keefe, and I think the reason this will be really interesting for so many people watching is that in any public sense, nobody has ever heard from Peggy O'Keefe. She has declined any and all requests for any interviews. She's never spoken out. She does sit in the courtroom every single day. Pardon me, the infamous sirens here in Dedham are about to come by. This is the typical. But Peggy O'Keefe has really been silent about this case, though she was there that following morning after John O'Keefe's body was discovered. Give me just 1 second to let this car go by. All right, we'll try and keep talking through it, maybe. She did, thank you, sorry. Live TV, sometimes you gotta wait for the sirens to go by. But Peggy O'Keefe was there the following morning after John O'Keefe's body was discovered. She interacted with Karen Reed. At one point, she asked Karen Reed what had happened. In fact, there is a moment, if anybody watched that investigation discovery documentary that came out, there's a moment in that documentary where Karen Reed describes an uncomfortable interaction she had with Peggy O'Keefe that following morning. So I assume much of that is what we're going to hear as part of Mrs. O'Keefe's testimony today.
Kristina Rex, thank you so much. And she will have the very latest late breaking developments as well on WBZ News beginning at 5. And we will be right back.